The government wants to kill you, and the CBC wants your kids to be okay with it. You really have to hand it to this Liberal government. They never miss an opportunity to push their death before healthcare agenda. And now their media lapdogs at the CBC are running PR for them, teaching parents how to explain assisted suicide to children because apparently killing Grammy, well, that's just another life lesson. You heard that right. The CBC recently ran a state-approved guide on how to explain medical assistance in dying, or MAID, but let's call it what it is, euthanasia, to kids. The article suggests parents tell children that euthanasia is just a simple medical procedure that allows sick people to choose to stop their suffering by ending their lives. And just to make it sound even more warm and fuzzy, they suggest reassuring kids that people can change their minds at any time. Oh, how comforting. Just imagine a terminally ill grandma sitting in a hospital bed, struggling between choosing death or fighting for proper palliative care, while the government makes it easier to access a lethal injection than a doctor's appointment in this country. To be clear, the number one reason people choose euthanasia isn't unbearable suffering. It isn't a terminal illness. It's a loss of meaning and usefulness. Not excruciating pain, not untreatable, irremediable pain, but the feeling of being a burden. So where is that in the CBC's gentle, child-friendly euthanasia explainer? Nowhere. Nowhere does the CBC say, hey, maybe one way to help people feel valued and less alone is to actually spend time with them. Instead, their state-sanctioned answer to loneliness and depression is a lethal injection. The same government that refuses to fix our broken, rationed healthcare system and offers our veterans assisted suicide instead of treatment is now working overtime to normalize euthanasia as a convenient and even compassionate option. And they want your kids to be desensitized to it from an early age. Think about that.
He was asking for a completely separate service and supports for neurological injuries. And she said, oh, just by the way, if up the road you have suicidal thoughts, and this is what he told me she said, it's better than blowing your brains out against the wall. That is what he told me she said.
The same federal government that told a disabled veteran suffering from PTSD that assisted suicide was an option.
If things are so hard at this point and you just can't keep going on, and you know we can assist you with aid to die.
Instead of mental health support, is now framing euthanasia as just another choice, one that might soon be available to so-called mature minors without parental consent. That's right. Kids who aren't old enough to drive or vote might soon be eligible for state-approved euthanasia, and CBC is already introducing it to them. This government already failed veterans, and now they're moving on to the elderly, the disabled, the mentally ill, the poor, and soon children. Instead of providing real health care, they're offering the ultimate cost-cutting solution, death. This is what happens when a government obsessed with social engineering teams up with a taxpayer-funded propaganda machine, the CBC. We're watching euthanasia become normalized and even encouraged, part of life in Canada. Instead of fixing the broken system, they're training the next generation to accept euthanasia as health care. And if you dare question it, if you say, maybe we should focus on treating people instead of killing them, you're labeled as a reactionary extremist who doesn't care about suffering. This isn't about choice, it's about control. And when the state gets to decide whose life is worth living, the answer will always be, not yours. So here's my advice. Tune out the CBC. Demand healthcare reform and stop letting these ghouls turn Canada into a dystopian nightmare where your only medical option is death. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. If you agree with me that Canadian taxpayers should not be funding the CBC, this propaganda mouthpiece for the Liberals and all their crazy progressive ideas, head on over to rebelnewsstore.com for all of your exclusive Sell the CBC merchandise. Again, that's rebelnewsstore.com.